don't fucking park in handicap spaces.
Do they have a particular problem with?
Dude, we do. Are you kidding me, dude? Every day.
I don't think I've ever noticed that. And
Oh my
I feel
God.
like I feel like I am very observant.
You know why? Because
of
you're the fucking guy doing it. Dude, all right, so this Thursday is the very first Lawn Summer Nights.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that's right.
This Thursday coming.
Woo!
Tomorrow?
Baby! No.
No.
Oh.
No, this Thursday from when this comes out.
Oh, okay. So
Because we're recording this ahead of the Friday this is supposed to drop, so it's the
Yeah.
Thursday.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lawn Summer Nights, folks, if you're not familiar, Lawn Summer Nights is an event that happens, I mean, usually it happens every year, but COVID fucked it for the last couple. But it happens every year, and it happens across Canada, and it's a lawn bowling tournament, might be taking place in your city. And so I highly, highly, highly suggest you go to it for a number of different reasons. Number one, it's to raise money for cystic fibrosis, finding a cure one day. But number two, it is
like a better cure.
Better cure than Trikafta. Number two, it is one of the most fun events I think I've ever been a part of. I mean, it's a fucking wicked time.
It's really fun.
Lawn bowling is just way more fun than you think.
It
and it's
really
also,
is.
It's my practice for the curling season.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like it's like how speed skaters rollerblade in the off season.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what though? I have beef with week 1 of Lawn Summer Nights. The theme is Canadian tuxedo.
Oh, I love it.
I like
here in Halifax.
I like the idea of the theme.
It restricts
But
your movement.
if it's 30 degrees out for whatever reason, because that has
Well, get your
happened. at Lawn
jorts
Summer
out,
Nights.
bro.
Dude.
So
Yeah, dude.
So,
Cut. You
but
just
like,
cut.
what is the good t-shirt denim option?
Get a denim,
Yeah.
get a long sleeve denim shirt, chop off the fucking arms.
Yeah.
That might be the play.
That's the play.
Hashtag cut.
So we've got a team. Sick Boy has a team. It's us and 2 other friends. It's going to be a great time, and I would love to put this out there to the world. Donate to our team. We're looking to take donations. Our fundraising goal is $1,000, but I think we could probably crush that. So if you go into the show notes below, find the link, click the link, and you can donate to our Lawn Summer Nights team. And we would love to see you be a part of the fundraising efforts. It's going to be a sick time, and I can't wait to get absolutely loaded while chucking a ball down a nicely fucking mowed down lawn.
They should have made the first week this Thursday so that it would encourage everyone to get really wasted because then the Friday is a holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah, but likely people are going away for the long weekend, so it would be like from running an event perspective, you got a lot of people out of town on the first night. It's probably not the best.
This is why we have Brian on the team.
You're usually the most pragmatic and logical one.
I am.
So that was that plug there. Donate to our Lawn Summer Nights team. The link is in the show notes right here, and it will be in the show notes every Friday for the rest of July because it happens every Thursday in July. And let's move right along to a video that if you are only listening, you are really going to miss out because this is not English, and you kind of got to read the subtitles.
Should we read them? Oh,
You
They're
speak
in Russian.
Polish? What language do you think that was? You think it was Polish? I've seen this
A
before
jak ty w ogóle masz na imię?
on Pornhub.
Nie chciałbyś zostać na śniadanie?
Wait, whoa, what? Tough luck, buddy. What
Wait
is
for it.
happening?
A gdybym to ja zajął twoje miejsce? Nie parkuj na mi.
So
That was incredible.
I know. So for folks that are just listening and refuse to go watch on YouTube, the shot opens up with a young man and a woman laying on the couch. It looks like they're just waking up from a night of coitus, and the guy is getting out of the couch, out of the bed, and she says, "What's your name anyway?" And he doesn't really respond, and he just hops into a wheelchair, and then both of them turn and they look, and the woman's husband has walked in the door, and the guy slowly wheels over to him and just taps on his arm like, there, bud. and then it cuts to the guy in the wheelchair with the couple in the background, like sort of the husband's just dejected and so hurt, and the guy in the wheelchair goes, how would you feel if I pulled into your spot? And then the ad ends with this message that says, don't fucking park in handicap spaces.
Dude, it's like, does Poland or Russia or Czechia
Could be Hungary.
or Hungary.
It's an
or
Eastern Bloc for
really
sure.
any of those
Ukraine.
Eastern countries that have very similar sounding languages. Do they have a particular problem with, they must have like a very,
Dude, we do. Are you kidding me, dude? Every day.
I don't think
every
I've
day.
ever noticed that.
Oh
And
my
I feel
God.
like I feel like I am very
You
observant.
know why? Because
of
you're the fucking guy doing it. Dude,
Yeah, dude, I'm very observant of the placard. I see the placard.
every day, on Dresden Row, when I used to work at the studio, the yoga studio, across the street, right outside of Pete's Boutique, which is like a little
Mhm.
grocery store. Every day there would be like a Porsche just pull right up into the fucking handicap spot.
What? Are
No
you
one
saying,
gives a fuck.
Are you saying handicapped people can't own Porsches?
No, what I'm saying is
this
that,
person didn't have a placard.
What I'm saying is that only rich people don't give a fuck, and they go, I can park here. I got a Porsche.
What is it with the core? Like, why is there a correlation between money and not giving a shit about other people?
Because it doesn't, because there's just like a general like, this won't come back to get me.
That's right.
Have you
I can
ever-
afford it. I
have you
can.
ever-
I can afford the fucking ticket.
That's so gross.
Have you guys
I
ever
know,
noticed?
I
This
know.
is this is very Halifax centric. But have you ever noticed down at Bishop's Landing, where for people not from Halifax, there's like a collection of like really nice restaurants and stuff down there, and outside Bishop's like outside of Mono, like in that narrow part of entering the parking lot, how there's like Ferraris and Lamborghinis parked there, and it's like the worst place to park a vehicle.
Definitely not a parking space.
But there's always like a really high performance sports car there, and you're like, why?
because they just
Status.
Yeah, because they're like
Yeah.
I'm
That's
not
funny.
walking.
Bishop's Landing would be the
Yeah.
type of place where they just wouldn't even bother putting handicap parking because they just know the assholes are going to park in it anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
Anyway, that was posted on Instagram from a woman I follow called Steph the Hammer, and I loved that post.
On the
It
topic
made
of
me
on the
laugh.
topic of a handicap spot, I actually do have a story of a.
Do we
time-
say handicap still, by the way?
I think they're called handicap spots, and I think they're called handicap placards. I mean, if that's the name
maybe
of them.
disabled parking.
Disabled.
Yeah, I think handicap is out.
Handicap's out.
Yeah, disable is glass.
Handy capable.
Haven't gotten the memo. Brian, type it up. Send it my way.
Will do.
So I was getting there's an ATM on what street is it on? Queen Street. You know that like walk-in ATM. It's like right in the hole in the wall where the American Apparel used to be.
Yeah,
And so
get
I pull
way
up-
more local, bro.
I pull up there one day. Well, whatever. You guys fucking know. I'm talking to you guys. So I pull up there one day.
Yeah, not the tens of thousands of people that don't live here.
Yeah, that's okay. They're getting a picture of Halifax. Do you like my painting? So I pull up, I park right outside there, and I'm in like a huge rush. I park, I run in, I'm in there for maybe like 45 seconds, get $20, hop back and I come out.
This is it.
As I come
This
out,
is it.
Taylor's
as I
about to
as
prove
I
my
come
point.
out, there's a cop there.
Yeah.
There's a cop there, and he's writing me a ticket. And I go, whoa, what's going on? And he goes, and he points up, and I had parked like right outside the ATM. It's like there's like a 15-foot space, like where behind that 15 feet is parking, and in front of it is a couple handicap spots, or like room for maybe like two cars.
Disable parking.
Disabled parking. I didn't get the memo yet. And so, and I'm going, and I go, oh, fuck, I'm so sorry. That's totally my fault. I was in a huge rush. I didn't see the sign. I just ran in to get this money, and I'm sorry. And the cop is like, he's writing me the ticket, and I'm going, please, like, I didn't consciously make that decision. It was a fucking user error. And he's like,
That's what the guy with the Porsche was saying every
Yeah,
day when he
user
pulled up.
error,
You
user
just didn't
error.
notice.
yeah. Well, I really didn't notice. And so there's these two like really pretty girls walking our way. and he turns to these girls. He goes, hey girls, can I stop you for a second? And they go, yeah. And they go, this guy, I'm about to write this guy a ticket for parking in a handicap spot. What do you think of this guy? And they're like, and the girls are like, ew, like, oh my God, what an asshole. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
And I'm just like sitting there fucking turned red, feeling like such an idiot. And then, and you know, they just keep walking and the cop goes, that's it. You don't need a ticket. That was good.
Wow. That's like the super bad cops.
And I was honestly like, thanks.
I learned my lesson.
I appreciate that.
I deserve
that's
that.
way more of a lesson than the
Because you were like,
$30
you know what? Because I've got so much money that a ticket actually wouldn't have done anything to
you're
me.
like, I'm so financially stable that this wouldn't have been a lesson.
And then you just drove your Porsche away from there.
Yeah. Porsche, yeah.
So here's an interesting article from Global. We recently did an episode a little while back about long COVID. Very eye-opening conversation, and this is very interesting in the realm of science supporting what long COVID could and might be. What causes long COVID? Canadian researchers think they've found a key clue. Well done, Canada. Olympic gold medalist Alex Kopax may be used to being out of breath when pushing a bobsled, but last year after he was hospitalized for COVID-19, he experienced a very different kind of breathlessness. Welcome to the club, bud. He was put on oxygen for 2 months and experienced a number of other health setbacks in the months following his COVID-19 infection, including blood clots in his lungs and throughout his body.
Whoa.
Quote, it was hard to breathe and pretty much it was going to be a matter of time to see if my body was going to heal from it.
Are we sure that it wasn't from the vaccine?
Well, it took him almost 4 months before he was back on his feet and breathing normally again. But without even an official diagnosis of so-called long COVID, the then 31-year-old didn't have answers about what was happening to him. That's how he became involved in a new Canadian research trial looking at patients suffering from COVID-19 syndrome, from post-COVID-19 syndrome, a study that has identified a potential key culprit causing some people to continue experiencing breathing issues months after contracting COVID-19. A team of researchers based at 5 centers across Ontario have zeroed in on a microscopic abnormality in the way oxygen moves from the lungs and into the blood vessels of long COVID patients in this trial. So this abnormality could explain why these patients feel breathless and are unable to perform strenuous activities, says lead researcher Grace Paraga, Tier 1 Canada Research Chair in Lung Imaging at Western University's Schulich School of Medicine and Dentistry. Quote, those feelings of breathlessness are completely consistent with our finding that we're not moving the oxygen as efficiently as we should, she said. Many long COVID sufferers have been stumping doctors as to what's wrong with them because routine clinical tests and chest exams come back completely normal. So they're going in, they're like, can't fucking breathe. They do all these tests and they go, dude, you look totally fine. Like we don't see anything that's going on.
Dude, this is the thing about COVID that is scary.
Yes.
For yes. Anybody of any age, regardless, because like COVID, obviously, you know, it's not like you have to have a comorbidity or there has to be something underlying for COVID to be bad for you, but that is obviously elevates your risk substantially.
Yeah.
But this is the long COVID seems to be much more like altitude sickness, like in the way that there's no rhyme or reason, no, like it doesn't matter, fitness, health, illness.
Yeah. You take me who has CF and I got COVID. As far as I am concerned, completely fine. You have this very fit Olympic athlete who gets it. And for whatever reason, his body is reacting this way, in which they're finding has to do with the way his blood transfers oxygen through his body.
And you know what? There is almost definitely some sort of really good lazy river analogy here.
There
almost
is,
certainly, yeah.
The study, which was funded by the Ontario COVID-19 Rapid Research Fund, looked at it was small, 34 patients, 12 who had been hospitalized with COVID-19, and 22 others who had not been hospitalized. The patients were evaluated about 9 months after their infection started and were still experiencing a number of debilitating symptoms. So what they did was using an MRI technique developed by Western University that is 5 times as sensitive and has 5 times the spatial resolution of a CT scan. The researchers were able to see how tiny branches of air tubes in the lungs were moving oxygen into the red blood cells of their patients. Red blood cells are responsible for transporting oxygen to the lungs and to the rest of the body.
Tubes in the lazy river.
Any disruption in the flow of this oxygen to red blood cells will trigger the brain to say, breathe more, resulting in a feeling of breathlessness. So all 34 of the patients who participated in the study were experiencing problems with the level of oxygen being absorbed by their red blood cells. And they had all had the same result, regardless of the severity of their symptoms or whether they had been hospitalized for COVID-19, another key finding. The reason why this abnormality is happening is not yet known, but identifying this as a possible trigger for these patients' symptoms is an important step in trying to learn more, Paraga said.
So it's possible that their tubes in the lazy river their holes are too big, and the people that the tubes want to carry, the oxygen, are just slipping right through those holes in the tubes, and they're not able to get a good, comfortable ride to their destination.
I mean, this is a true.
I'd accept that.
This is a true athlete's nightmare.
It is, yeah.
I mean, this is what everything is like. Everything is based on your ability for your blood cells.
Unless you're an Olympic curler.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
That's right. Or a golfer.
I just want to say, imagine that MRI machine that's 5 times more sensitive that is taking this. Imagine it took a snapshot of an unborn baby in a womb, like what the details on that face would look like. Remember those like terrifying MRIs that we looked at like a couple of weeks ago?
Oh, of the
eye being rubbed.
Yeah.
Of the babies in the uterus.
Yeah, Taylor wasn't here.
Yeah, he just
left because he got really upset about the AI conversation. Let's not get into it.
Yes,
he's here right now.
So imagine seeing seeing those babies' eyes in utero with like veins running through the eyeballs.
Yeah,
I'm also offended by anything that happened while I wasn't here.
And that was it. So we must move on.
Okay, sorry.
The research team acknowledges that the sample size of this study, which has been peer reviewed, is small, and therefore that results should be considered exploratory and hypothesis generating. But that hasn't tempered their excitement at the prospect of making headway in understanding long COVID and taking one step closer to understanding how to treat it. Paraga went on to say, I think now that we know what's going on, we can move on to why. And I think that's the important part. I think the important part is why some people and why not others. How can we predict who is going there and who isn't? So that's going to take a little bit more time for us to get there.
I honestly think that there should be a methodology of research when it comes to understanding how the body works and how illness and disease presents in the body, where they only look at those events as lazy river scenarios. Because if they could boil it down and explain using the lazy river analogy why something is happening to you in the way that it is,
makes all us fucking ding dongs go, oh, I get it.
And yeah, exactly. Really great for science communication. Also really great for dumbing it down for the other scientists who are doing the research,
what if the lazy river analogy applied to anything is the theory of everything? Like it's the thing that Stephen Hawking was chasing his whole life.
That's crazy. That's
we did a lot of mushrooms on the
weekend. Here's another interesting article. Tay, you hooked me up with this one. CRISPR. We've talked about CRISPR 1,000 times on the show. 10 years of CRISPR. It's been 10 years.
Anniversary.
And how is it being used today? So this week marks 1 decade since CRISPR made its public debut in an academic paper named A Programmable Dual RNA Guided DNA Endonuclease in Adaptive Bacterial Immunity, which is like if Alice in Wonderland was named Girl Takes a Nap.
I was really excited when I saw you pop this article in. I just read the headline, but it made me think before getting into it that like I was really excited to hear about what progress has made over the last 10 years, but also I'm saddened by the fact that it feels like things take way longer to actually have any sort of beneficial impact than you think when you initially hear about something.
It's
Like
the biggest ethical minefield in science ever.
Well, the reason why, so for people who don't know, CRISPR allows scientists to reliably edit the DNA of both plants, animals, humans, snipping out and repairing genetic sequences. So when its creators, Jennifer Doudna, And Emmanuel Charpentier won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 2020. The award committee called it an epoch-making experiment. Real-world applications for CRISPR are developing remarkably fast by science world standards. Here are some innovations that make us feel like we're living in the year 3000. A treatment for the blood disorder sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia could be approved this year. Patients are already receiving the experimental one-time treatment, and it's working.
Like sickle cell is almost certainly fatal. Is that correct? Can you like not have a reduced life expectancy with sickle cell?
That's a good question that I do not know the answer to.
Let's get somebody on. The
we had
podcast
somebody
to talk
write.
about
We
it.
had somebody write to us just recently. About
Yeah,
it.
maybe we'll pull them on. Produce modified to contain more vitamins or the ability to survive drought or disease, like a tomato that accumulates vitamin D when under sunlight, could land on grocery shelves within a few years. Researchers are even using CRISPR to learn more about our Neanderthal and ape great to the zillionth exponent grandparents. How are they doing that? What's that? Yeah, what? Using CRISPR to learn more about our Neanderthal and ape great to the zillionth exponent grandparents.
That's a weird way to structure that sentence, but
Sure is.
related to that, I saw a thing today about these like human ancestor skulls that they saw
that too.
are actually a million years older than they previously thought.
I'm telling
I
you,
saw
man,
that.
we had computers millions of years ago.
I don't think those people had computers.
Yeah,
I saw the skulls.
They
They
did.
didn't look like they knew how to use them.
Yeah,
If
they
they had them.
Hey, man, we got a friend that's got a skull that big, and he can use a computer pretty good.
There's a really great
I
episode
don't
recently
know.
about Neanderthals and on Radiolab, and their link to immune diseases, autoimmune diseases. Yeah, really interesting. Highly recommend. Cannot regurgitate any of the things I've learned from that, but recommend
Hey,
listening to it.
you said it.
But you got it.
Yes. Yeah.
One major issue, though, with CRISPR, affordability. So the treatment for sickle cell disease is complex and costs up to $2 million for one patient. Donda.
Dude, that's some
Told Stat
Trikafta
News
shit.
that she's working on a way to have CRISPR do its gene editing in vivo in the body instead of in the lab, making the process simpler and cheaper. Another
So
speed bump.
they'll take patients and then put them back in the uterus.
Yeah,
And then treat them
you
there?
live in the uterus for 9 months and you come out fresh
Guys,
as a baby.
maybe that is the answer. Maybe they need to make a uterus room at the hospital and they just like put people back in there
Yeah.
and treat them.
They
like that.
do. It's called an iron lung.
Like a uterine,
kinda like
a
that,
uterine
yeah.
regeneration
Yeah.
pod.
Yeah.
Dude, Zaya's skin is next level soft.
Oh, dude,
It's
I
so
know.
soft,
I
yeah.
So
know.
new.
I know.
Yeah.
Another speed bump for CRISPR, ethics. What you were saying, Taylor, ethics questions around editing genes of human embryos. Dr. Shenzhen, a doctor in Shenzhen, China, was sentenced to prison in 2019, 1 year after he modified and re-implemented 3 embryos into patients. He's out of jail now. And there's also word on the street that those kids, because we talked about this on the show, basically he edited the genes so these children like could not be infected with HIV, something to that
Something
degree.
Like that, yeah.
It's now being shown that those children are
Soups. They're
Yep,
soups.
yeah, they're showing extraordinary levels of like intelligence.
No fucking
And
way.
eye lasers.
And that guy is now out of jail.
I was wait.
Sorry,
I'm,
wait.
I'm,
you
I'm,
mean-
I'm
wait,
dead
you're
serious.
being
I'm
serious
dead
about the
serious.
intelligence?
I'm dead serious. The intelligence of those children apparently has been stated that it is like through the fucking roof.
But
Vought got him out.
Do they actually?
Vought. Yeah, Vought got them out.
Do they think that there's a link?
Yes, 100%. And which is why I think he's no longer in jail.
Because they're like, do that to all the babies.
Hey, man, China might be like, you know what?
That's the exact reason
Well
to
done.
keep him in jail, because that's the ethical line.
Yeah.
That's the ethical line. And the issue with cost related to the ethics is that when we probably do eventually cross the ethical barrier of going, hey, you got enough money.
You want a smart ass baby that can't get AIDS?
You want to, well, it'll probably start with height. It'll probably start with physical attributes first, I think.
Okay, hold on. Do you think it would if already someone out there made a baby like Stephen Hawking ass smart? Like we've already crossed that line. It's been crossed.
Yeah, I guess.
So
I guess we've crossed it. But
do you
we've
think a
also
country would go? All
reprimaned-
right, well, we already did it. These
Well,
babies
it
are smart as
depends
shit
on
and they can't get AIDS.
depends on the country.
I think we
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
start genetically modifying human beings to fight off artificial intelligence as it starts to.
Amen, brother.
Yes,
But like
fuck yeah.
if you were to
As it takes over.
here's an ethical conundrum, maybe. So it let's say
Here's
it's
another brain buster for you.
it's an ethical it's an ethical line that you need to cross to make the decision to edit the genes that are associated with the intelligence of an individual. But then you could say, similar to like the a general artificial intelligence, like a super artificial intelligence would be the last thing we ever invent. Like that's similar
Yes.
sort of thought.
Yeah.
Is that if you knew that you could do that, then you could theorize that that human might be the sort of the same as like the super general intelligence.
Yeah, maybe.
With that could solve all of the world's problems, or a collection
Maybe.
of humans
I don't know.
that are super intelligent could solve the world's problems, and you'd still have the human aspect in them.
And you know what
That's-
they would look like though? It would be like something out of Dune, where they're just blobs
Well,
of
that's
brain.
right, because
And they float in a tank, and they can take your starships and propel them light speed.
Well, that's because I wonder. So because you're talking about a hardware problem.
I mean, we're
rather
really
than a
talking about
software problem.
spice. We're
Because-
talking about spice, dude.
because so
Get
what
those
are,
blue eyes, get the spice.
what are the limitations of the computing power of the human brain? And we already know what that is, and we already have computers that function basically at that level.
But we don't know what that is if we inject them with no AIDS.
Right. So we would have to maximize that capacity of the human brain, which it seems to me like it would be easier to engineer a piece of hardware like a big computer that would be able to function at a higher level than the most engineered human brain. So that would be the
Maybe.
challenge. You'd be
I
fighting
got it
against.
right here. So engineering HIV-resistant babies may have accidentally changed their brains. In genetics, one small tweak can have a ton of unexpected results. In November 2019, a group of researchers in China divulged what scientists around the world feared in what many researchers now call an ethically dubious clinical trial.
Is this now gain of function?
No.
No.
Because it's like gain of function of,
Well,
of
I guess
humans?
I guess,
Yeah,
I guess
maybe.
technically.
Which would never have been done in the U.S. They had edited a set of human embryos using the new and relatively simple gene editing tool CRISPR. The pair of fertilized eggs came from a Chinese couple, and the woman gave birth to seemingly healthy twin girls. Rather than a typical genomic mix from the mom and dad, the babies were born with an alteration to a gene called CCR5. Love that band. Making it a non-functional. Researchers showed that people without well-working copies of CCR5 are either immune or resistant to HIV. The researchers' goal for the trial was just that, to make babies who would never get HIV, the virus that leads to AIDS. But new research out this week shows that turning off CCR5 might have far more effects on human functioning than HIV resistance. Namely, it could alter brain functioning and potentially improve intelligence, something geneticists the world over have been keen on steering clear from. So what is CCR5? CCR5 is the protein that sits on the surface of the white blood cells, a major component of the human immune system. There, it allows HIV to enter an infected cell. A chunk of the human population naturally carries a mutation that makes CCR5 non-functional. One study found that 10% of Europeans have this mutation, which often results in a smaller protein size and one that isn't located on the outside of the cell, preventing HIV from ever entering and infecting the human immune system. The goal of the Chinese researchers' work, led by He Jiangqi of the Southern University of Science and Technology located in Shenzhen, was to tweak the embryo's genome to lack CCR5, ensuring the babies would be immune to HIV. But genetics is rarely that simple. In recent years, the CCR5 gene has been a target of ongoing research, and not just for its relationship to HIV. In an attempt to understand what influences memory formation and learning in the brain, a group of researchers at UCLA found that lowering the levels of CCR5 production enhanced both learning and memory formation. This connection led those researchers to think that CCR5 could be a good drug target for helping stroke victims recover. Relearning how to move, walk, and talk is a key component to stroke rehabilitation. In their most recent study out this week in the journal Cell, the UCLA researchers blocked the CCR5 gene in mice and then gave them a battery of motor ability tests, like walking across a metal grid and counting the number of times they slipped for a series of 9 weeks. Turns out the mice with the blocked CCR5 gene had greater improvements. So less falling and slipping.
This is how Planet of the Apes started.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, kind of.
Figure out how to make animals smarter, and then they start communicating and coordinating, and then we're fucked.
I'm for the enhancements, but the issue is it only being accessible to certain people.
But it's a shot in the dark, though, too, right? Like you're rolling the dice.
That's right, and that prior to that, it's that you don't know, and how do you study it? I don't know if there's.
This really is similar to gain of function, isn't it?
I was thinking
there is a lot of parallels there.
It would be really helpful to talk to a geneticist and try to figure out like how the fuck do you ever study this in an animal to try to understand how this. Can you ever understand how this is going to work in a human by studying this shit on animals?
I'm
Genetics is just too complex.
I'm super interested in gain of function research now because I feel like I was a gain of function researcher as a little kid. Do you guys remember the show Monster Rancher?
No,
I remember the name.
There was a show. It was like a Pokemon Digimon sort of knockoff, I guess. And there was a video game, and basically you would breed two monsters together, and they would create some sort of monster baby. And depending on like what monsters you would breed together, you could get like a new and improved monster. But like sometimes you would get a shittier one. So it's kind of like gain of function. You're like, you're just like there's
humans.
Seemingly no rhyme or reason to this. Like you could get a good one, you could get a bad one. There was higher odds for getting a good one if you bred them a specific way. But one of the cool functions of mechanics of the game was that you could actually take on your PlayStation, open up the console in the middle of the game, take out your disc with the game and put in a new disc. And depending on the disc that you put in, you would start to generate a certain type of monster. And you could use music CDs, you could use any other PlayStation games, whatever CD you put in would generate a new character in the game. And so like I was going around my house like collecting CDs and DVDs and other video games and just trying all of them to see which type of monsters I would create. And it was really exciting and thrilling because you never knew what you would get. And so I've studied gain of function.
Dude, you're
in depth,
basically Tony Fauci,
full-fledged scientist at this point.
Like you are,
as like a 12-year-old.
You are science,
right?
Yeah, so that's interesting stuff. Maybe I'll look at getting a geneticist on who's worked with CCR5 and get them in to talk.
Yeah,
about
I would
shit.
like really just love to fucking. I mean, we've talked about CRISPR a lot, but I really want to just go. I want to go deep.
What fascinates you so much about it?
I think like just the potential to. It's sort of similar to like when we talked with Bruce Setter. Was that his name? Bruce Setter about how mRNA is like. mRNA was kind of this like almost like Pandora's box a little bit. Like, oh, we've worked with it. We've never used it in humans because like there's just so many good ways to treat things that we didn't want to take the risk of working with mRNA just because we already had so many good ways and we just weren't sure what maybe the repercussions would be. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, then along comes COVID and you force humanity's hand to use this technology that we've been developing for a long, long time. And we go, oh shit, it works. And now the Pandora's box is opened and mRNA is going to be like, mRNA is going to change the world of pharmaceuticals for the next however decades. And CRISPR, I mean, when we're talking about Fermi paradox and the Great Filter and everything, like CRISPR might be one of the keys to getting past the Great Filter.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
This is for folks who listen to the podcast who live over in the UK. If you are living in the UK and you are a fan of texting and driving, you might want to change your tune. Judges will begin handing out life sentences to dangerous drivers tomorrow, which is actually yesterday.
Do you mean like if they kill somebody while they're driving.
Judges will be able to hand out life sentences to dangerous drivers who kill from tomorrow. The current penalty for dangerous drivers who kill and careless drivers who kill while under the influence of drinks or drugs is 14 years. A sentence far exceeded by changes coming into effect as of Tuesday. So that's this Tuesday. The sentence increase is part of the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Act and applies to offences committed across England, Scotland, and Wales, but not Northern Ireland, as the country has its own road safety laws. According to the BBC, Justice Secretary Dominic Raab said, quote, those responsible will now face the possibility of life behind bars. Quote, too many lives have been lost to reckless behavior behind the wheel, devastating families. The BBC also notes that the government wants to ensure punishments reflect the severity of the crimes and the misery killer drivers leave in their wake. The new law also makes causing serious injury by careless driving an offense, so anyone who inflicts long-term or permanent injuries will face tougher sentences. Speaking about the legislation change, first announced back in 2017, Steve Gooding, director of the RAC Foundation, said, quote, drivers exhibiting the worst behavior on the roads are a danger to us all. Those who behave with disregard to the risk they pose deserve the stiffest penalties when their actions rob others of their lives. He added, involuntary manslaughter already carries a maximum penalty of up to life imprisonment, so it's hard to argue that killing someone with a car doesn't warrant a possible sanction of similar severity. The Crown Prosecution Service will continue to charge people with manslaughter or murder where there is evidence that a vehicle was used as a weapon to kill or cause grievous bodily harm. Aside from changes to dangerous driving legislation, the government is also introducing rules that offer people with hearing loss the support of sign language interpreters during jury deliberations. Okay.
That's an interesting addition.
Just toss that in there, sure. And then they just go on to talk about that for a while. But is that here? Like if you were drinking and driving and you killed someone, could you get life here?
Life? I'm not sure what the I mean, sentencing is confusing.
I'm surprised
is, yeah.
that when they mentioned that involuntary manslaughter carried a potential life sentence already, I was surprised that would be separate from vehicular manslaughter.
Yeah,
because it's the same
sort of thing,
right? So,
but in manslaughter, there's like there's not an intent to kill, but there's an intent to harm.
Yeah, like you get in a bar fight and you punch a dude and he falls and cracks his head on the pavement and dies.
Like
you weren't trying to kill him,
meant to hurt him,
but you did, and you meant to hurt him.
Yeah,
and that's manslaughter.
Yeah, whereas like texting and driving is like there's not really an intent, but you took an action that was completely avoidable.
Yeah,
that ended up.
They also didn't say texting and driving there. They did specifically say like under the influence, but I mean, there's not really a difference.
So, but is that not what we're trying to convey to people? That like if you are drinking and driving, that there's an implied intent to cause harm because there are increased risks that you could hurt somebody, and therefore. By doing that, you're assuming the risk.
Oh my god, guys! What were we talking about on the
decision?
weekend? I made some silly joke about how we should have a like if you want to drink and drive, you should have to
the speed limit.
We should have like a special driving lane for people who have been drinking and they can only go.
Just got bumpers like in bowling.
They can only go 10 kilometers an hour. They have, and they have to put a yellow light on
a dunce cap. They have to put a dunce cap on their car.
Yeah, so like they have to drive super slow, and everyone just goes, "That person's drunk."
Which is clearly a joke, but also that's just a funny thought. That's a funny thought.
Yeah, I was on mushrooms. We did a lot of mushrooms this weekend.
Second time you. Just put out to the world that we did illegal drugs.
I think I might still be high.
Yeah. Me too.
Here's a piece from Hannah Banana in our Discord. Again, Hannah Banana, you get producer of the week. And if you want to be a producer of the show, you can join our Discord. The link is in the show notes. It's going to be right above that link that says donate now, where you can donate to our Lawn Summer Nights team. So click that one first, then hop over to the Discord. Juul, not the very endearing country singer, but the vape company. U.S. bans all products from leading vaping company Juul.
That's right. And that has already been challenged in court, and the ban is not in effect because of that court
Didn't they only have like a
challenge.
couple days on that though, or a couple weeks? Something like it was like a deferment or something.
I don't
Like
know.
it's
Let's
not-
find out.
yeah.
The Food and Drug Administration, also known as the FDA, said it did not have enough data to be sure that marketing the firm's products was, quote, appropriate for the protection of the public health. Juul said it would challenge the move. It comes after other recent anti-smoking efforts by the FDA, including plans to reduce the amount of addictive nicotine allowed in cigarettes. The agency had already barred the fruity flavors that helped make Juul a phenomenon among teenagers a few years ago. Quote, today's action is further progress on the FDA's commitment to ensuring that all e-cigarettes and electronic nicotine delivery system products currently being marketed to consumers meets our public health standards, FDA Commissioner Robert M. Califf said.
I
in a
was actually
statement.
super bummed when they banned the fruity flavors because I've never smoked a fruity vaped a fruity Juul before, but once when we were doing a talk at a high school, I went into the
Oh, yeah.
bathroom
Yeah, right.
and I went into the bathroom and it smelled like watermelon, and there was
They're
like
you guys got a
15
diffuser on in here?
there was like 15 guys standing around,
Just blowing
and I was
ghosts.
like,
Blowing ghosts.
guys, it smells so good in here, and they were like, we're vaping,
Smells ghosty.
and I was like,
blowing ghosts.
cool.
Yeah,
Juul, founded in California in 2015 by a pair of former smokers, has promoted its vaping pods as a healthier alternative to traditional tobacco cigarettes. But the products, which contain high concentrations of nicotine, raised alarm as use among teens exploded, with more than a quarter of high schoolers using e-cigarettes in 2019, according to a federal survey. In 2020, the FDA said it would require companies to submit their e-cigarette products for approval. It has since granted some of them a green light. In its statement, the FDA said it had not received any information to suggest an immediate hazard. But it also noted the major role Juul, whose product under review had nicotine levels of 3% and 5%, still plays in the market. Quote, we recognize these make up a significant part of the available products, and many have played a disproportionate role in the rise in youth vaping, Mr. Califf said. Juul said it would seek a stay of the ruling, which would allow it to keep selling as it explores options, including an appeal. Quote, we respectfully disagree with the FDA's findings and decision and continue to believe that we have provided sufficient information and data based on high-quality research to address all issues raised by the agency, the firm's chief regulatory officer, Joe Murillo, said in a statement. And then this one here is for you, Tay. The firm's shares sank 9% on Wednesday after the Wall Street Journal reported plans for the ban.
Thanks. I try to stay away from.
Now, did you sell before this happened?
I did not have a stake in Juul.
I doubt it.
Or Altria, which is actually the company that owns Juul. And
Suspect that you knew that.
I know lots of things.
Sussy.
So the thing that I don't agree with is just bans. Now, if you banned it everywhere, if it was banned in all countries, then in a technology, then that would be an effective ban. Because if you ban it everywhere, it's going to be fucking hard for them to manufacture a technology.
Well, like this shit,
but
my snus is you can't get this in Canada. It's banned in Canada.
Sure,
but I just fucking order it
exactly
and get it sent to me from Sweden.
Exactly. So if it's not banned everywhere,
Yep.
then they're going to still be producing the. It's just like cigarettes in New Zealand. You know how we talked about how they're phasing out tobacco. You know, they're still making tobacco products elsewhere, and they're easy to make.
Yeah,
they're not hard to make. Whereas a product like a Juul, like the pen part of it, is hard to make because it's got a lot of components to it. You need an actual fucking manufacturing capacity to do it.
Technology.
But
the black market shit is
Totally.
even more dangerous.
Totally. And that's really all that it's going to do. I understand the idea behind a ban. Like, I get it. And I get that it's not a good thing for you, even though it is, I think better for you than the alternative. If there is a direct alternative, like if you don't do this, then you do that, which is smoking cigarettes or whatever.
Do you think the FDA is in bed with big tobacco?
Yes.
Dude, yes. Are you kidding me?
Well, there you go.
Absolutely.
Of course they are.
Do you, and Taylor, would you say that you identify as a free market capitalist?
Yes.
So that also explains your positioning on that too, right?
Speaking of Mark,
Well, I mean, but that's set in stone though. Like we tried that. We've tried that. We've tried it with drugs. We've tried it with alcohol. It just doesn't work.
I think the one thing that they can do is regulate the quality of the product, though. Like that, I
They
mean,
can regulate the quality of the
without
product, yes.
without banning completely, making sure that they're because specifically with vaping products, there are different types of oils that can be vaped and consumed, and if heated at a certain temperature, can become aerosols and then dissolve in your lungs and cause
Popcorn lung.
things like that.
I'm all for regulating shit to make it as safe as it can be, and that the quality is good for sure.
And
Especially
so,
with a product that has obvious health drawbacks.
I think there's one of the things is that like it's hard because like I'm divided on this because I see the value in products that can help people who are smoking like smoking cessation products.
Like that gum you told me about.
Yes, right, exactly. And so I think that there are good quality products that can help people quit smoking cigarettes. But then also that leads to people who might not smoke already see that as an opportunity to, use a product that they feel is a safer alternative to smoking and get addicted to that and then sort of go the other way up the stream. And so, it's hard, but I guess in the end, all you can do is let people decide what's best for themselves and hope that they make the right decision.
And there's definitely not no lung effects on smoking a vape. Like as somebody who works out intensely, I get a very I notice
Are you sure about that?
I notice the function of my lungs very acutely.
Is that anecdotal though, or is that this evidence?
It's totally anecdotal and subjective. But like if when we're hanging out with Colin and
it sounds like your helmet argument.
He's got his vape and I have a few beer and I get a little
curious.
I get a little clingy with Colin and his vape. I feel that the next day, like pretty aggressively.
Okay. So you're saying like weed vaping, it doesn't have the same impact as like vaping tobacco on or like
no, because if you weed vape, if I weed vape, I'm gonna take a one little toke on it and then that's that. Whereas like tobacco vaping, you're sucking on that thing. Like it's your soother.
The thing that I have a problem with is the marketing and how it's like there are people who are educated to the point where they can like see a well-marketed product and go, oh, that's just fucking good marketing. I don't want that. But then there are people who are like more vulnerable or susceptible to a
cool ad,
flashy commercial or cool ad. And then they start taking up that hobby or product. And that's what I
was like when Matt Damon was like
bad for.
Everybody should buy Bitcoin.
Fortune favors the brave.
Yeah. Guess what?
Cool.
You're all broke now.
Here's another
Matt
little
Damon
article about
is not broke.
people who are feeling broke. Then this is crazy. I had this in for our What the Health segment this week, but I had to change it because I found something even wilder. This was actually sent to us by a number of our patrons over on our Discord. National incident declared over polio virus findings in London sewage.
Uh-oh.
Polio's back, baby. Public health officials have declared a national incident after routine surveillance of poop or wastewater in North and East London found evidence of community transmission of polio virus for the first time. The UK Health Security Agency, UKHSA, said waste from the Beckton sewage treatment works in Newham tested positive for a vaccine-derived polio virus in February, and that further positive samples had been detected since. So I had to look up what vaccine-derived polio virus is.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
It's a strain of the weakened polio virus that was initially included in oral polio vaccine, and that has changed over time and behaves more like the wild or naturally occurring virus. This means that it can be spread more easily to people who are unvaccinated against polio and who come in contact with the stool or respiratory secretions, such as from a sneeze of an infected person. These viruses may cause illness, including paralysis. So I don't think we've had the polio vaccine because like that shit was That shit was done. Like that's the vaccine that our parents got. Like all our parents got that funny scar.
Yeah.
Like that's the polio vaccine. I don't think we got that.
Yeah, I was just having the same thought. I don't think we did, even though that seems kind of counterintuitive because
Yeah.
it's not eradicated.
I thought we
So-
did eradicate polio.
Let's Google
No,
that
it's
shit.
not. Well, we might have eradicated it regionally, but polio still exists elsewhere.
Right.
So it's
right.
not globally eradicated. So it seems kind of strange to
Yeah.
have stopped giving the vaccine for it.
No cases of the disease or related paralysis have been reported, and the risk to the general public is considered low. But public health officials urged people to make sure that they and their families were up to date with polio vaccinations
We
to
do.
reduce the risk of harm.
We get the IPV vaccine,
Oh, okay.
which
Yeah.
is inactivated polio virus vaccine.
There we go.
So that was something that Josh Clark mentioned in the biotech episode,
Yes.
where he talks about how if you're giving an inactivated virus as a vaccine, that there are methods to inactivate the virus. Like they actually take the virus and they either expose it to like a certain temperature or something like that inactivates it to hurt you. But human error
Still provides protection.
still provides protection, but there's human error in terms of the method and how you deactivate it. And if you don't deactivate it correctly, then you could get that virus put into, not to cause any fucking no one to go off the deep end in terms of vaccines, but then that could end up in a vaccine. These are just fucking human error, and ends up in a vaccine as an inactivated virus, improperly inactivated, gets you sick.
Yeah.
Then you pass it on to somebody.
Dr. Vanessa Saliba said vaccine-derived poliovirus has the potential to spread, particularly in communities where vaccine uptake is lower. She is a consulting epidemiologist at the UK HSA. On rare occasions, it can cause paralysis in people who are not fully vaccinated. So if you or your child are not up to date with your polio vaccinations, it's important that you contact your GP to catch up. Or if you're unsure, check your red book, which I guess is something that everybody in the UK has, just a little red book that tells you all the things you got.
You get it in Canada. You get it with it's called like the Tdap, diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis.
Yeah.
Pertussis, polio containing vaccine.
Um,
And Zaya should have gotten that today at, I think, 2 months. Get around 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, and
she got
somebody
a
else.
few. I don't think
he's not vaccinating his
they were-
child. He's all about
right, yes.
just giving her stinging her with bees. Tests on the UK sewage typically pick up a handful of unrelated polio viruses each year. These come from people who have been given the oral polio vaccine in another country and then traveled to the UK. People given the oral vaccine can shed the weakened live virus used in the vaccine in their feces for several weeks. That's pretty wild. The London samples detected since February raised the alarm because they were related to one another and contained mutations that suggested the virus was evolving as it spreads from person to person. The outbreak is believed to have been triggered by a person returning to the UK after having the oral polio vaccine and spreading it locally. It is unclear how much of the virus has spread, but it may be confined to a single household or an extended family.
Guys, I have a question, and maybe I'm not sure if you're allowed to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Careful.
I'm curious about as technology evolves and we're able to detect things like this happening more, and we learn more about them, and as the media has more of an appetite and audiences have more of an appetite for reading or learning about stuff like this, what amount of these things like this virus evolving, for example, like has this stuff happened forever in the past as well?
Almost certainly.
And has there been like a minimal impact on society, or at least an undetectable impact on society? And like how much because like
so much
like,
so that it's not worth writing about or something like that.
yeah, and
in the
I mean it's
past.
interesting. It's interesting to learn about, and like obviously on a podcast about health, it's interesting to talk about. But in terms of like how we start to like fear things like this
Right.
happening, like I
does
even think
this
of something like
does this article end up in the like top half of the fold on the front page of a prominent news publication pre-COVID?
yes, right. That's sort of that's basically what I'm asking, and like even things like monkeypox, which again like these are important things to think about. I'm not saying that it's not important for us to be learning or thinking about these things, but it's really like that divide is like of like being afraid of it, I guess, is it something that we live in fear of, or is it something that we
I
just
think that
talk about and be
media-
aware of it?
I think that media knows that
Fear
it-
sells, man.
That fear sells, and you know, like, is monkeypox really something that we really needed to be, that everybody on planet Earth needed to know about? Probably not.
Hmm.
Like,
I mean, maybe it is.
ma-
Now
ma-
we
ma-
don't even know.
maybe. But in terms of what it sounds like so far, it's not real, not really. You know, and this again, like, obviously in the context of what we do, it's we're going to talk about it no matter how prominently
Yeah.
it shows up in media, because
Yeah.
we're going to find it buried in like
Because fear sells, and like
we're
we're capitalizing on
no,
that.
I mean, we're going to find it in like in the study that it shows up in. You know, doesn't even have to really end up in a news article. It can just be in a study, and we'll find it and talk about it. But you know, there's media knows that it sells to be kind of scared of something, and
We should
if-
develop.
if they can get like 10 articles out of that, that's probably pretty
Yeah.
sweet for them.
Well, we should develop like a color coding system for like the amount of fear that you should feel in relationship to like a certain event that's happening.
Like the crypto fear and greed index.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
like that's a
great,
red
great, great.
code red right now.
And I'm not even
Um,
saying that cynically. I'm just saying that like realistically. Like I'm not even saying good bad it's bad good or bad one way or the other. I'm just saying that that's probably how it is.
I mean, like talking about the monkeypox, like maybe that article is like a closer to green color in like fear index. Like here's something that we're talking about it. Like we want to advise the public that this is something that is, you know, that we're learning about, that we're following. It's an evolving situation.
similar to COVID in like January 2020.
Yeah.
When it was just like, hey, this is happening.
Yeah,
And like it
yeah.
could move to yellow, but we're following that and seeing where we're at with it. And then people can know like how afraid they should be.
Because it's not
Should
like
be.
anybody was reading about COVID in January and going, holy fuck.
I was.
Yeah.
Well, but you can say that but like
I said it in January. I went,
You did say that,
guys,
yeah.
this could be
Very
like,
few
this
people
could
were like
change
that,
the
though.
world.
Yes.
It's like, don't look up.
yeah, like yes, and you
I mean,
just
that's what
don't.
it's a commentary
But
on.
even though you said that, you still can't like embody it because you.
No,
because
I had no idea what the
because-
fuck I was talking about.
right
I said that and I went, but I had no idea
because you
of
can't
how steep.
because you can't.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like the conversation about having a kid. that
You know
we're
who did
having the
know
other day.
though? Those doomsday preppers. They've
Yeah.
been saying it for years.
Yeah, well, clock is right twice a day.
Listen, in speaking about that, I found this photo. So these two boys had been exposed to the exact same smallpox source. One of the children was vaccinated and the other was not.
Holy fuck!
Whoa.
It's pretty wild, eh?
That is.
Oh, man.
Kid looks like
definitely-
he looks like
An ant.
he looks like
He does look like an ant.
uh
I'm so sorry, child.
he looks like the fucking Candyman.
Dude, that
Covered in
is.
bees.
Dude, you know what this is like? You know, if you know how you can if you could buy vaccines at the pharmacy, this would be the label that they would put on them,
Yeah.
similar to how they have those
Cigarette surgeons, general
cigarette
warning.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like if you don't buy this,
This will be
this
you.
is the difference.
Yeah.
Let's move
It would
on.
be pretty powerful.
It would
Let's
be.
move on to this week's edition of
I'm excited for this because you have
Yo,
been amping this up
this
like
is-
a movie that
yeah.
got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
well, if this was a movie on Rotten Tomatoes, it would definitely get 100%.
All right. Set the bar high.
You know what? I'm not even going to read you the title. come
That's
on this
good.
come on this journey with me. All right. Whenever Erica Brownsell took her 2-year-old Barnaby, what a fucking cute name, Barnaby.
Barney.
Holy shit. Okay, so whenever Erica took her 2-year-old Barnaby to the play area, other parents would ask why a child his size was still drinking from a bottle. 2 years old. Okay. On one occasion, she said, a stranger remarked that he looked like a little man. She said some people called him a Viking or Samson because of his muscular build. I don't know what a Samson is. But it was only after
Samson, the hero in that that epic. What is it?
Oh, I think you're talking
don't
about Half Baked.
So here's the sentence that's really going to rock you, okay? But it was only after Brownsell saw pubic hair around Barnaby's sizable penis
2 years
that she
old.
got seriously worried.
2 years old.
2 years old.
Oh, wow.
2-year-old with a big old piece starting to sprout pubic hair.
Big old
Okay.
piece.
She said, I knew it wasn't normal, the 43-year-old mom told Insider, noting that her toddler resembled a 4 or 5-year-old boy with a big old dick and a bunch of pubic hair.
Hold on. How does he look like a 4 or 5-year-old boy with a huge dick and pubic hair?
He'd have a massive, oh my God. He'd have massive sustained erections and his height and weight were off the charts.
Oh, he's just got tea coming out his eyeballs.
Brownsell of Brighton, England added he weighed 26 pounds at the age of 1 and put on over 2 pounds every month between the ages of 12 and 18 months.
I think that's a
And
lot.
it wasn't fat. It was just jacked up muscle and cock.
Oh my God, Compound V.
Dr. Tony Hulse, a pediatric endocrinologist at Everleena London Children's Hospital in the UK, was somewhat baffled when Brownsell consulted him in March. Barnaby had as much testosterone in his system as an adult male.
Knew it.
Blood work showed that Barnaby had an abnormally high level of testosterone, as much as a grown man, when it should be negligible for a boy his age. Duh. He also had a bone density of a 4 to 5-year-old child.
Do you think his
Further
parents were just jacking him up with tea because they wanted him to like?
Well, let me get through this. Further tests ruled out the most common causes, such as endocrine tumor or a congenital disorder that affects the adrenal glands. It was very scary, Brownsell said. Nobody seemed to know what was going on. So, what do you think was going on?
Oh my God.
How do you think this 2-year-old has such a giant penis, pubic hair, and the bones of a 5-year-old and looks like a little man?
Professional athlete's answer? Tainted meat.
Tainted meat? Oh, like the meat he eats is tainted?
I would say his mom was drinking protein shakes with tea in them.
Oh, because he was drinking from a bottle. That was
He was drinking from a bottle, looking like a little man just sucking off a bottle. Yeah.
Don't say sucking off a bottle.
Come on. Come on, man.
Man, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like that's probably a pretty good no, because he wouldn't be drinking breast milk at that time.
Maybe.
Would he?
2 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess,
could be.
I guess he could be.
Yeah. Well, one of Hulse's colleagues made a suggestion. She wondered whether Barnaby had been exposed for long periods to an artificial testosterone treatment meant for adults. Hulse told the Insider that he emailed Brownsell to ask if he'd ever come in contact with the medication. Quote, my husband has been using testosterone gel for years, Brownsell said, explaining that Barnaby's father, Peter, was born with a complex testicular condition. She said that they were shocked to learn that the generous amount of topical gel that he applied every day may have caused Barnaby's issues.
Like from
topical gel of tea.
like when they
We're fucking.
what's the fucking word for it? Conceived him?
No,
That's what I
dude,
was
not
wondering.
even.
Yeah.
No. Quote, I spent 2 years of my life thinking that I was protecting and taking care of him when in fact his own environment was contaminated, Brownsell said. According to Brownsell, a career consultant, her husband used the product, brand named Testogel in the UK and Androgel, for the equivalent type of the drug in America, on his skin to help correct his testosterone deficiency. Dr. Benjamin Udoka Nwasu, the head of pediatric endocrinology at Cohen Children's Medical Center in New York, told Insider that the absorption of testosterone cream or gel, typically applied to the upper arms and shoulders, is never complete. Testosterone gel could be risky for kids if they're exposed to the medication. There's some testosterone gel left on the skin even hours after application, Nwasu said. Family members and other individuals who have close contact with the male patient are at risk of direct exposure. The doctor said that the testosterone gets into the bloodstream even when the patient wears clothing. Studies have shown that even if you cover the site with a t-shirt, 40 to 48% of the hormone can still be transferred.
Whoa.
He said that if the exposure, quote, occurs over a long period of time, the amount of testosterone can be harmful. The high levels are particularly dangerous. The high levels are particularly dangerous to children, Nwasu said, because they can enter puberty years before their peers. The symptoms, he said, include acne, pubic and underarm hair, and oversized dicks.
What's
That's what it
what's the
says.
complications?
Oversized
It says oversized
dicks.
reproductive organs.
What's the complications that can arise from that, like entering puberty early?
Well, I mean, like, you know, probably it's like what are the complications that arise from when like a 5-year-old is stacking plates and fucking and like, you know, and getting
like-
jacked up, like it probably fucks your long-term development,
Muscle
you know?
Yeah.
development and yeah.
The physician who strongly advises people to use disposable gloves when they apply the gel said that he was relieved to tell Barnaby's parents that his chronological age would eventually catch up with his body. He explained that the boy's testosterone levels would return to normal now that his dad switched to T injections. Barnaby will stop growing so rapidly, Hull said, adding that the problem was caught relatively early and, quote, hopefully it won't have done any long-term damage. He's now backing Bronsel's campaign to raise awareness about the risk to children of testosterone gel. She wants to see a prominent warning introduced on the UK packages of Testo gel, along with specific leaflet instructions.
Well,
Andrew Gel in the
leaflet
US
instructions,
has
sure.
had a boxed warning since 2009 because more than 20 cases like Barnaby's have been reported to the FDA. The adverse reactions led to one child needing surgery, according to the FDA. Insider reached out to Bezins, the European pharmacy company that manufactures the gel, for comment and is awaiting a response.
I mean, this is the reason why when you get a medication, the pharmacist is like, have you ever had this before? And
Yeah.
you go, no. And they go, cool, let's chat about it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that should be one of the things that is included in that conversation.
Mm.
Something that's it's not completely unrelated, but sort of like a little bit. I was listening to Andrew Huberman on Armchair Expert, and they were talking about how Dax Shepard gives his kids melatonin to sleep, and they're all like 5-ish, 5, 8 years old, something like that. And Andrew Huberman was like, not going to tell you how to parent your kid, but bad idea.
That sounds fucking crazy to me.
And he was like, because something to do with how you really don't start like producing serious amounts of melatonin as a human until puberty, and like you can really fuck with your puberty cycle. Like you could launch a kid into puberty if you're giving them melatonin, like if they have too high amounts of melatonin before they hit puberty.
Mhm.
And all these other fucking things that only Andrew Huberman fucking knows because he's the smartest man on planet Earth. But it's really fucking interesting. I mean, like, there's just things that like you're gonna get it, and you just shouldn't have it before a certain age, and it just has these repercussions.
I feel like my general rule of thumb is that unless I have a diagnosed deficiency in something and a doctor prescribes me a certain medication to combat that natural deficiency, then I'm not going to go and look for an over-the-counter solution to a problem I think I might have.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
I'm like even really weary of Advil use.
Like if I was going to take melatonin, it might be like a one-off thing for the placebo, like a general, like the placebo effect of like taking it and going, this helps.
Like I want to sleep on this flight.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because like people who are like, oh, I take a like an Ativan or something when I take a flight. I'm like, are you high? Like,
And
no
they're like,
offense,
yes.
but
Yeah,
that's
I am.
fucking crazy. Like, sorry to anybody out there who says that, who does that, but like, not a good idea.
But
Yeah, you
by
don't
the
want to
way-
like just get up and start making a sandwich in the bathroom of the fucking airplane, not knowing
it might
what
not
you're
even
doing.
be Ativan that I'm talking about. What am I talking about?
That's
Is it Ativan?
Yeah, that's Ativan.
That's like what you would take.
Oh, no,
to
no,
go
no.
to
Sorry,
sleep?
that's Ambien.
Ambien. I'm thinking.
Yeah,
of
Ativan's like calm you down.
By the way, I wanted to shout this out now that we're getting to the end of the podcast. I had mentioned a while ago that I didn't have a family doctor, and Jen put in our Discord the link to sign up for a wait list for family doctors in Nova Scotia, and I signed up for it last night, and I'm super stoked
You
to
did?
now be waiting to get a call from
Great.
a doctor to have a family doctor.
Great.
So if you are in Nova Scotia and you're listening to this and you don't have a family doctor, whether your doctor is retiring, has retired, or you
Or
just haven't
sucks.
seen one in a really long time,
You want a new one?
you can join the list at needafamilypractice.nshealth.ca, or just call 811.
I hope you get my doctor, man. Then you and me and Kyla and Zaya can all go to the doc at the
That
same
would be
time.
sweet.
And you guys can all throw beakers at the wall together.
Yeah.
That was the old one. That was
it's not my
old
doc
school.
anymore, but my
Different guy.
doctor now is just as cool.
You need a health card if you go to the website, but you do not need a health card if you call 811 to get on the list. So
Cool.
highly recommend, and huge thank you, Jen, for sharing that.
Does anybody now that's great information. Does anybody have a hack for actually receiving your health card from the government?
Jesus, dude, I know. It's been years.
Because I've requested one
I'm with you.
7 times.
I know. Same. Well, folks, that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. We're coming at you Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And if you want to support the podcast, leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating on the Spotify mobile app. And if you want to support further, come join us over on Discord. Lots of conversations happening over there, having lots of fun. We got our Patreon hangout tonight where we all hang out on Zoom. It's a fucking riot.
Hell yeah.
And go donate to Sick Boys Lawn Summer Nights team. Link is in the show notes below.
And if you and we've been getting quite a few nice little emails lately about different conditions that maybe we haven't covered on the show yet. Not because we've been avoiding them, because we don't do that, but because we just haven't had somebody on with that thing. And we've been getting some good messages lately. So if you want to reach out to us, letters at sickboypodcast.com. And if you want to be a guest on the show, you can go to sickboypodcast.com/contact and fill out the form.
And just a reminder, we don't get the same amount of viewers over on YouTube that we do get listeners on the podcast. And
Nope.
we'd like for people to check us out on YouTube. If you're not watching this, you could be. And if you're really into feet, there's my feet on the screen.
Hold on, let me get mine.
Until you put yours up.
Yeah, I'll get mine too.
Look.
There we go.
And if you really like feet, you're definitely going to want to go to YouTube.
I feel
and,
sick.
There's my
and leave us a comment. Also, a huge thank you to the folks that make this show happen. That would be Rich O'Coin, who does the theme music, and Jeff Lonis, who is our manager. We love you guys very much. Thanks.
That is it for this week.
I'm Brian.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jeremy, and this is Sick Boy.